How much were you looking to get out of it, too?
$75,000.
Okay, let me give him a call and we'll go from there.
Rick Harrison has seen just about everything walk through the doors of the gold and silver pawn shop, but every now and then, a deal shows up that's just too good to pass up. It does not matter if it's a rare piece of history, a once-in-a-lifetime collectible, or a high-dollar item with a shocking backstory. These are the mind-blowing offers Rick simply couldn't resist. Let's get right into it. A gentleman walks into the pawn shop looking to buy something that was very interesting. Now the gentleman meets up with one of Rick's employees at the counter and tells him that he saw a John F. Kennedy cigar box that caught his eye and he wanted to know more about it and see if it was something he could purchase. The employee claims that this cigar box sat in the White House Oval Office. Rick gets involved and wants to see if he can make a good deal out of the John F. Kennedy cigar box.
1962, sitting on the White House Oval Office.
The desk?
At his desk.
Wow.
Hey, Rick.
Looks like we have a lover of American history in the pawn shop today. Apparently, the gentleman came down to Vegas for a convention with his wife, and one of his hobbies is to stop at the pawn shop and take a look at historical things. He saw the John F. Kennedy cigar box and wanted to know about its history. If it sounds good to him, he might just pull out his wallet and pay for the cigar box.
The day before the whole Cuban embargo thing happened, he had Pierre Salinger go around the entire DC area, bought all the type of Cuban cigars he liked, and he kept those in his cigar humidor.
One thing you can trust about Rick is that he always makes sure his items are very well documented. I don't think I've seen an item in the pawn shop that has this much documentation. Rick and the gentleman talk about the history of the John F. Kennedy cigar box, and the gentleman is quite fascinated. This particular cigar box is the cigar box that actually sat in the Oval Office. I have a good feeling that this gentleman is going to buy the cigar box.
And this is the only cigar box he placed on the Oval Office desk. And that's why it's valuable. It's a one-of-a-kind, just like me.
Man, who knew cigar boxes could go for that type of money? But then again, it belonged to John F. Kennedy. It does not come as a surprise that it's worth that type of money. The gentleman asks Rick how much he would sell the John F. Kennedy cigar box for, and Rick tells him $80,000. The gentleman looks at Rick and gives him a counteroffer by bringing the price down to $60,000. Rick says that he would lose a lot of money if he sold it for that amount. Well, let's see who wins this bargaining battle.
I mean, it's John F. Kennedy's cigar box. I mean,
Well, what about 70?
can you give me like 78?
72.5?
75 is what I could take, it really is.
75.
75, write him up.
Got a deal, boss.
Ha ha ha, Rick is just so dramatic. For a moment there, I thought the deal was not going to go through. You could see that Rick was a little worried that the gentleman was going to decline his offer. The customer was not going to walk out of the pawn shop without trying to give Rick a hard bargain. They danced around the price for a bit, and they ended up agreeing to $75,000. Rick might miss the John F. Kennedy cigar box, but he made some good money from its sale.
This is the earliest sticker-sealed Super Mario Brothers Nintendo game.
That's pretty amazing. I know some of them go for a lot of money.
We might have ourselves a prized jewel here. Now, this guy makes his way to the pawn shop. In his hand is what he called the earliest sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game. If you're a gamer, you'd know this is very rare to find. Rick does not know a lot of these types of things, so he calls Chum to come take a look. Chum sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game and is very impressed because it is actually quite rare to find. The best part? It's in good condition.
All right, how much do you want for it?
It's a piece of history. It's something that's hard for me to part with, but I would sell it for $1 million.
$1 million.
Yep.
Phew! I'm glad everyone agrees that it's a lot of money to put in a video game. Geez, $1 million is no joke. I don't think anyone would want to put that kind of money in a video game. Chum rounded up his inspection, and Rick went on to ask the customer how much he wanted for the sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game. He claimed it was a rare piece of history and told Rick that he wanted $1 million for it. The shock on both Rick and Chum's faces said it all. They were speechless.
Where I was sort of shocked when, like, there's some video games sold for $29,000, just the cartridges. But I didn't know the market exists for six-figure games, much less $1 million game.
You can still feel the shock and surprise from the way Rick is speaking. He never expected the customer to say he wanted $1 million. He has seen video games go for as high as $29,000, so $1 million is just out of this world. He wants to reach out to an expert to see if he could come down and take a look at the sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game. Who knows, maybe it's actually worth that kind of money.
This is probably the most significant piece of video game history that's ever passed through our grading company.
Okay, and he also said that this was the best condition.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite mind-blowing to hear. I'm not even going to lie. Rick gets his expert and he is able to make it to the pawn shop. He takes a first look at the sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game and he is stunned by the quality. He also says that he is not surprised that the customer wants over $1 million for the game. The expert says that the game is probably the most significant piece of video game that's ever passed through their grading company.
So we don't know the exact number of copies that were printed in the first test market launch, but we're estimating it's somewhere around the 10,000 print run. And how many of those survived sealed? One, as far as we know.
Once again, Rick is left speechless. The expert concludes his conversation about how epic and rare this sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game is. Rick then goes on to ask the expert how much the game would be in the open market. The expert breaks it down and says that due to the fact that it's rare and also in very good shape and has deep significance to the gaming world, he would value the starting price for the game at $300,000.
Realistically, what do you want for it?
I'm asking $1 million.
There's a big business in these right here, and I just been looking into maybe getting into it a little bit, but I'm not going to get into it with this kind of figures to start with.
I mean, that did not come as a surprise. You could already tell that Rick was not ready to put over $1 million into purchasing the sticker-sealed Super Mario Bros. Nintendo game. The expert was done with his analysis, and all that was left was for Rick and the customer to negotiate. Given that $1 million was way too much money for Rick to put into a game, he told the customer he was sorry, and that put an end to the deal.
This is Elvis's Superfly coat.
I dig it.
One of the most iconic pieces of Elvis wardrobe in the collector's market.
There's no lie in what this customer just said. Elvis was a god when it came to style back in the day. Now this dude finds his way to the pawn shop. Apparently this is not his first time here. He has a good deal with Rick and he decided to try his luck again. He brings in one of the most iconic pieces of Elvis's wardrobe in the collector's market. It's fascinating that the coat is still in very good condition.
This was Elvis's coat.
It was. It was made by IC Costume Company in Hollywood. This is the company that made a lot of his stage outfits, the jumpsuits, and everything like that.
Ow! This customer came very prepared. You already know he is going to want a hefty sum of money for this coat. Rick asked the customer how he was able to get his hands on such an interesting piece of clothing, and the customer said that he got it from Kike Moon, who owned the Elvis Presley Museum in Tennessee. As if that was not enough, he brought some serious documentation that shows that the coat actually belonged to Elvis and was purchased from the museum.
This thing's pretty cool. Can I try it on?
I think it might fit you.
Well, that's a good sign. That would definitely bring down the value of this coat. Rick rounds up his conversation about how Elvis was a big influence on rock and roll music back in the day. Chum then picks up the coat and puts it on, and to everyone's surprise, it's a perfect fit. Rick then takes a proper look at the coat and he sees that the coat was badly stored. The color of the coat is pretty much faded.
I mean, it is really cool. I mean, it's a massively iconic thing.
Well, who would you like to call in?
You know who Jimmy Velvet is, right?
Yep.
I guess you see why Rick has to call in an expert. $75,000 is not the kind of money you give away without making sure that what you're buying is worth it and not a fake. It's a really nice coat, not due to the fact that it's faded, but Rick wants to make sure that he is not making the wrong guy. Aside from that, the customer wants over $75,000 for it. Nobody wants to spend that kind of money on a fake item.
I met Elvis through my English teacher.
Through your English teacher?
Yeah.
Were you like his tutor or something?
No, are you kidding? I needed the tutor.
Looks like this expert has been a huge fan of Elvis for a really long time. He makes his way to the pawn shop, and the first thing he says is that he met Elvis through his English teacher when Elvis came to pick up a song that his teacher wrote for him. That must have been really cool. He also remembers that Elvis was a very impatient person. Well, now that all that has been said, let's see what the expert thinks about this coat.
So what do you think of the jacket?
There's so much fake stuff out there. You pay a big dollar, but you got to be very careful what you buy. He had a bunch of these made, all different colors.
Alright, that's music to the customer's ear. You can see how his face lights up when the expert says that the jacket is not a fake. The expert began by saying that there were a lot of fakes of the coat that were made and it was very hard to tell the difference. He starts to inspect the jacket and Rick asks him if he ever saw Elvis wear this particular jacket. The expert takes a pause and tells Rick that he didn't in fact see Elvis wear this coat a number of times.
What's it worth?
The fading is going to cost a little. If I was trying to buy this coat, I would love to get it for somewhere between $50,000, $60,000, $55,000. It's a great coat.
And that's all we need to know. Seems to me like this customer was not crazy when he told Rick that he wanted $75,000 for the coat. After the expert said that the coat was the real deal, Rick asked him how much it was worth. The expert took a few minutes and then told Rick that he would value it at somewhere between $55,000 and $60,000. I wonder how much Rick is going to offer this customer.
So what do you think I should pay for it, chum?
40 grand.
That's about right. You know what collectibles have done in the past few years.
Who? This is one tight bargain right there. At this point, I don't know who is going to break, and it's looking like this might not turn out to be a good deal. Rick asked Chum how much he felt he should offer the customer, and Chum replied to Rick by saying that $40,000 was not a bad price. The customer took $5,000 out of his initial price and stood on business. Rick has made it clear that he is also not going higher than $40,000.
You can't do 50.
40 grand.
All right, just for you. I'll do 45.
I'll go 40 grand.
I can't do that. I mean, 45 you got a deal.
It's a big investment.
I can't take a loss on it though. 45, I'll do it.
You gonna let it walk over $5,000, Rick?
This has to be the hardest bargain Rick has ever encountered in his entire life. Man, I would have folded and agreed with the customer when he came down to $45,000. Rick is one hard man to persuade. Chum tried to tell Rick that $45,000 was not a bad price, but Rick also did not want to make a loss. He told the customer he was not going to go beyond $40,000 and he meant it. Is this customer going to walk away?
The deal's not right. The deal's not right, dude.
Okay.
All right, man. I wish we could work. Change your mind. Give me a call.
You don't want to do 45?
I'll go 40.
You got it.
All right. Write them up, chum.
Sweet.
He might not have been happy with the price he got, but it's a good thing that he did not leave the pawn shop with empty pockets. They danced around the prices for quite a while, and Rick was just not ready to back down from the price he offered the customer. The customer gave it some thought, and he realized that $40,000 was way better than leaving with nothing. He shook Rick's hand, and they had a deal.
It's a piece of marble.
Okay.
I believe came from Abraham Lincoln's tomb.
Abraham Lincoln's tomb, the president.
Now, how on earth was this lady able to get her hands on marble from Abraham Lincoln's tomb? I honestly don't blame Rick for asking her if she stole it. That's not something you pick up on the side of the road. Well, she comes into the pawn shop and she tells Rick and Corey that she has a marble that she believes is from Abraham Lincoln's tomb. She has no idea how much the marble is worth, but she knows she wants to make some money from its sale.
Definitely marble. So where did you get it?
So basically my mom, she was working in an estate sale. The lady that ran it told my mom, she says, you can keep it.
They tried to steal his body? Geez, people would do anything to make some money. I mean, why on earth would you try to steal Abraham Lincoln's body? Well, Rick asks the lady how she got the marble that she believes to be from Abraham Lincoln's tomb, and she tells him that her mother was working at an estate sale, and the lady that ran the estate sale gave it to her mother and told her to keep it. I'm pretty sure her mom had no idea what it was at the time.
Writing on the back of it is, interior paneling of Lincoln's tomb, presented to Guy Allison by Mr. Bray Custodian. And you have no paperwork, no nothing, you just have...
Just basically what's written on the marble.
There's no lie in that. Once you see an item that's linked to the name Abraham Lincoln, best believe that it's going to be a collectible and could be worth some serious money. Now, Rick does not know if this marble is actually from Abraham Lincoln's tomb. What's worse is that the lady who brought it in does not have any documents to back up her claim. Rich wants to bring in one of his experts to come have a look and tell him more about the piece of marble.
How do I know that one's from Lincoln's tomb and someone just didn't write that on the piece of marble?
The fact that this is a more yellowish marble, this is right. The interesting things to me is the fact that it was given to Guy Allison.
Corey Corey is right. No normal person would actually waste so much time trying to create a fake marble piece that belonged in Abraham Lincoln's tomb. Rick's expert took his time to inspect the piece of marble, and the names that were written on the piece of marble told him all he needed to know. The piece of marble is not a fake, and to everyone's surprise, is the real deal. The first question has been answered. Now let's see how much this lady wants for the marble piece.
So what do you want for it?
I was thinking maybe 25,000.
No, that's insanity right there. You know, it is. I mean, it's a crazy price. I mean,
Whoa! $1,000? That is going to kill this lady's dreams of making some serious money. Rick really doesn't joke around when it comes to barraging. The expert left, and Rick asked the lady how much she wanted for it. The lady told him $25,000, and Rick told her it would be pure insanity if he gave her that amount of money. Rick then offers the lash $1,000, and it seems like she might decline his offer.
not something that Lincoln used on a daily basis or touched or dealt with or anything like that. It's not going to be a quick sell. Yeah, $1,000 would be it.
Oh, okay, I guess I'll just hang on to it then.
Thanks for coming in, though.
We kind of saw that coming. Rick really wanted to get the piece of marble, but he was not going to pay $25,000 even though his expert told him that it was not a fake. The lady who brought in the piece of marble also was not going to fake $1,000 for it. Trust me, if I were to be in her shoes, I also wouldn't take $1,000. Oh well, in the end, no deal was made. Now let's see what's next.
It's an original drawing by the sculptor of the Iwo Jima Memorial.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen this thing before. Hey Rick!
I'm right here.
I'm sorry, your bald spot was blinding me.
At least we know that he wants to use the money for something pretty important. So this elderly man makes his way to the pawn shop. He meets up with Chum, and he tells Chum that he has an iconic piece of history. He brings out an original drawing of the Iwo Jima Memorial that was signed by the sculptor Felix de Weldon in 1954. The elderly man says that he got it from a friend of his who owns an art gallery in New York, and he wants to make some money from its sale.
Okay, well look at this. Very nice. Okay, Felix de Weldon. The whole story behind the image itself is just amazing.
Wow, looks like there is some serious backstory to how this drawing came into existence. Rick already made it clear that he didn't know so much about the painting. Luckily for him, his expert that specializes in things like this was in the pawn shop, and Rick asked him to take a look at the drawing of the Iwo Jima Memorial that was signed by the sculptor Felix de Weldon. To everyone's surprise, this drawing actually holds some significance to American history.
So how much are you looking to get out of this?
$18,000.
Okay. Do you think he was done by him?
Unfortunately, I don't know his drawings. You're going to have probably Brett come in or somebody that knows art.
The moment two experts have to take a look at an item, you already know that getting the price of the item is not going to be easy. Now, the expert that initially took a look at the drawing told Rick about its history, but could not put a price tag on the painting. Now, Rick has to reach out to another expert who is going to tell him if the drawing is original and how much it is actually worth. Well, let's see what the next expert thinks about this drawing.
I've said a few words, yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like I'm the monkey to your Jimi Hendrix. I'd like to take a real quick second and look at it under a loop.
Sure.
Real quick.
Could that be a problem? I honestly hope not. Rick's other expert makes his way to the pawn shop. He takes a look at the drawing, and he immediately knows it's one of Felix de Weldon's drawings. He takes a closer look at the signature, and that also checks out to be authentic. The only issue with the drawing now is that it was done with graphite, and that makes the drawing a little harder to authenticate.
Now, Alan, is this the paperwork
Yes.
on the piece? All right. Now, this SPQR Fine Art, I've not heard of them.
I have a friend who had an art gallery who was a personal friend of Felix de Weldon and marketed all of his artwork.
Is it just me, or does that sound very discouraging? Now, from the expert's analysis, the drawing seems to be legit to him. The only problem now is that the documents that the customer brought in as evidence that the drawing was not fake do not sit right with the expert. He has never heard of the art gallery before, and it makes him a little skeptical. Well, let's see how much he is going to value this drawing for.
It's an important work. It's his masterpiece. I'd probably put a value on this approaching $20,000. And I think it's an authentic. Now, whether or not that's enough for you to move forward.
That That makes sense. The expert eventually gave the drawing a price, and he valued it at $20,000. He also made it clear to Rick that since he was not sure about the Earth Gallery that verified the drawing authenticity, he wouldn't want Rick to purchase the drawing for a huge amount of money, knowing that it might end up being a fake. But from the expert's analysis, he believes that it's not a fake. Will Rick risk buying it?
All right. I would pay you $15,000 any day of the week for this thing, but I need more.
Okay.
I just got to see that first.
I understand, and I'll get it for you.
Okay. Well, have a nice day, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.